I told her the other day, I said, but behind this pot is a six-pack.
There you go. And behind mine's a keg.
Yeah.
It
God.
used to be a case, now it's a keg.
That's a keg.
As Jim Tomsula likes to say, okay, all right, you got it?
You got it? I always think of Jim Tomsula. You know, Lowell Cohn had a great line about Jim Tomsula, and I have to say that maybe it's a little unfair, but I just thought it was perfect. He said, Jim Tomsula reminds me of the guy he's wearing a butcher apron, and he goes, what do you want? What's your order? He's getting behind the counter.
Really good. Well,
Yeah.
this line will have to work.
Yeah, well, we can manage.
Let me just fill this one in here.
Edward's doing all his computer stuff here to set this thing up. My daughter knows more about how to handle a computer than I do. I mean, she's 10 years old. It's really humiliating.
That's just the way the world
That's how it is. I know. If I need computer help, I ask a 9-year-old.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
They grew up with
Is
it.
going? Yeah, it is going. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so Andy, if you remember, the first 2 minutes is just a little introduction. Bruce and I go through, and he'll say, "Hey," in the next segment, Andy will be coming on. So, you guys ready? Let's go. Welcome to Sports Econ 101. You know our show. It's where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, the famous Bruce McGowan, longtime radio sports
Famous to my daughter.
Yeah, exactly. She knows you.
Yeah, she knows me.
Okay. Today's show is going to be extra special. Why? Bruce, who's our guest?
Well, actually, this is, we don't talk actually that much business on this show. We do from time to time, but this is going to be a topic, or a number of topics we're going to touch on that have to do from the business end of sports. And I think you'll enjoy Andy Dolich, who's a longtime front office executive with Major League Baseball and NBA basketball, and he knows what's going on in the landscape. So we're going to talk with him primarily about the possible move of teams to Los Angeles in the NFL. It's a fascinating topic, and I think he'll shed some light on some of those things. So I think you'll enjoy it.
Very timely, too.
Yeah, very much so.
And let's see, at each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question where we're going to be giving away vacations for the first email with the correct answer. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. Those vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com. And today's trivia theme is history of the NBA.
I like that.
And there's so much history, we're going to actually have it for this week and next week.
There you go.
All right?
All right.
So this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding about 8.14% compounded to almost 8.5%. You got to check them out. It doesn't get any more secure than that at pacificprivatemoney.com. I've been investing with them for a couple of years.
I like that private money.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, that's what it is, because when people can't get money in a bank, they have to go to private sources.
That's true.
But the underwriting that they do is at least as conservative as what a bank does.
Okay.
So sometimes the loans are actually more conservative because they get 2 pieces of property as collateral instead of 1.
Jeez, you're gonna have to explain all this to me. It's just
Well,
going
wait.
over my head. But I'm just a poor plain sportscaster.
Well, if we have more time, we'll get into it a little bit later on. But
Hey, I'm looking for a financial advisor. Maybe I should talk to you.
Talk to me.
There
Okay.
you go.
You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to have Andy Dolich on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so
All
that's our
right.
first little segment. Let me save the file here. And then
Save that
we'll have
file.
Bruce reintroduce you. Save as. And save it right there. Call this sports.
So you just put those in a little file and then mail them off to.
Yeah.
That's
What I do
great.
is so I save the 5
Right.
files.
And then you just,
Then I take this and I put it over here and I email it
Great.
to
And there
Darren.
you go.
And they
He-
put it
he
together
puts the thing together.
with the commercials and the music.
There you go.
And I have music.
Live music.
Besides, our famous music is the William Tell Overture. Remember
That's
the
right.
Andrew?
That is right. Yes.
Okay.
I always think of the UCLA Bruins when I hear that song because they used to play that. I don't know.
Really?
I don't know if Andy knows this. Andy, do you know this? That back in the day when John Wooden was the coach, and they were in that great winning streak, I went to a couple of their games, and the band would play when the team would come out for their warm-ups. They'd play the William Tell Overture, and it was very stirring.
It is.
You know, it's
better
like
than that rap
the
music.
crowd would get up and they go, oh, 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 oh. And it was very old school, but it was great. I don't know. Did you ever go to
It's
UCLA?
a Lewis Alcindor, not
That's right.
Jabbar.
That's right. And his first name?
Lou Alcindor?
Yeah.
What was his real first name?
Louis?
Louis?
No.
What was it?
It was Ferdinand.
Oh, that's right.
Ferdinand is his given
Isn't
name.
that wild? That's crazy.
Okay, you guys ready?
That's a good trivia question.
Yeah, we had that once before,
Yeah.
because I remember Fern was going, he goes, God, that's easy. Lou Alcindor. I go,
Lou,
no, actually, it's Ferdinand.
Ferdinand.
Okay, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. And Bruce, our guest is on the phone. Who is it?
Well, Andy Dolich was in the front office with the Oakland Athletics, the Golden State Warriors, the San Francisco 49ers. He also worked with the Memphis Grizzlies of the NBA. And Andy's, I think, supremely qualified to talk about this. And I want to get into this, Andy, with you. Los Angeles is really clamoring for a football team, and rightly so. They haven't had one for 20 years. They're the second largest market in the country. They lost their two teams the same year. The Rams went to St. Louis. The Raiders moved to Oakland. Now, both those teams, possibly one of them or both, might be returning. And the Chargers, who started their, actually had their first year in Los Angeles, are thinking of moving back. What's the situation right now? Who has the inside track on this possible move?
Bruce and Edward, always good to be with you. The way that I look at this is there is no envelope marked top secret LA project on a desk or in a locked drawer saying this is exactly what's going to happen over the next few months. And as we followed reality, they've had town hall meetings in St. Louis, San Diego, here in Oakland a few weeks ago. You've got 3 teams that have talked for now more than a few years about relocating to LA. Bruce, as you said, it's been 20 without it. The NFL hasn't exactly been hurting without the team in Los Angeles. And in our market, of course, we're talking about the Raiders. However, the way that I look at this, it's like solving a Rubik's Cube with a blindfold while suffering from vertigo. If this was easy, it would have already been done.
Yeah.
Even
The reason I say that is you're looking at 3 teams, the Rams, the Raiders, and the Chargers. You're looking at 3 cities in St. Louis, Oakland, and San Diego. You're looking at 2 more cities, so let's say 5, in Inglewood, California, and Carson, which are looked as locations where they may build new stadiums. You have a National Football League. You have all the other owners, not of those 3. You have mayors, city councils, county councils, states, independent investors who want to build new stadiums. And that's why I say there is no envelope that says this is exactly the 3 steps. It's going to happen on this date. We'll have a big press conference.
Well, why don't they take, okay, if I remember correctly, didn't the Cleveland Browns become the Baltimore Ravens, and then they ended up having Cleveland again?
As an expansion team.
Yeah. Why doesn't Cleveland come back to L.A., call themselves the Rams, and get Norm Van Brocklin on the squad again?
Well, something.
I think that's great, and Back to the Future 3 will be shooting in theaters, this holiday season. The color of the blood that runs through the veins of professional sports is green. It's not red. If you look at the size of the LA market, if you look at the decision making, which we've already talked about, that has any level of complexity, every day there's a new story, correct? And that's why we're talking about this. This is the Groundhog Day of sports relocation.
Is it going to take this long, Andy? Oh, go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's the media gift that keeps on giving
Yeah.
in terms of all the owners, all of the public relations, everything that you've heard about this. Ultimately, it's going to come down to a vote of the owners. And the owners and Roger Goodell and his staff and Eric Rubin, who's been the point person on the LA relocation, they want to make sure that they're maximizing the asset appreciation of every single team, not just those 3 in the NFL. And most importantly, as Commissioner Goodell has said, they want to protect the shield, which is the NFL, and generate the most money that they can. And that's why the description of this as a complicated kind of 3-dimensional chess game continues. How many times has the league said we hope to have a decision by November, December, January? And ironically, there will definitely be a league meeting around the 50th anniversary of the Super Bowl. And wouldn't that be a gut punch that at that meeting, they decide that the Raiders are moving south?
Well, or how about San Diego and the Raiders? Because there's this talk about the two teams sharing the facility in Carson. That is kind of unprecedented. Other than the Jets and the Giants, I can't think of that happening. And two teams moving at the same time, that would really be kind of a strange scenario. But I guess the NFL would welcome it, huh?
I don't necessarily think so. Again, neither of us are commissioner of the NFL. I don't think you, Ed, or Bruce own an NFL franchise that I'm aware of. I know that I don't. And therefore, these are serious decisions. There will not be 3 relocations in the LA Basin. There will not be 2 new football stadiums rising in Inglewood and Carson. And the NFL model is clearly a 2-team solution. Bruce, you talked about it before. The Jets and the Giants is minting mountains of cash for 2 teams that didn't exactly, sing kumbaya every time they saw each other, but stadium technology has advanced. In my time with the Niners early on, 2007, 8, and 9, there were some discussions between the Raiders and the Niners, and that's definitely what the league wanted, is to have 2 teams share a stadium, because the Niners were years ahead of the Raiders in stadium development. And now we find a very, very difficult situation in Oakland where the Warriors are all but gone to a new arena, which will open probably at the earliest for 2018 or maybe 2019 at Mission Bay. The A's have been a question mark for years, although Rob Manfred and MLB has said, no, you're not going to San Jose. And the Raiders have said, through Mark Davis, we love Oakland, we love Oakland, we love Oakland, but we're going to move as soon as we can to Los Angeles.
So let me ask you something, because I've never been to. Is it still called Jack Murphy Stadium for San Diego?
It's called Qualcomm.
Qualcomm, yeah. I'm back from the old days.
Yeah.
Okay, so our pastor actually used to live in San Diego, and he would go to the games, and he said that is the most ridiculous stadium to get to. Travel-wise, he said he would literally have to go like 4 hours ahead.
Well, where did he live?
Somewhere in San Diego. I don't know
Really?
exactly where.
Because I've been to many games there. I never had a problem getting in and out of Mission Valley. But I think the big problem is that the San Diego Stadium, like Oakland, it's not a bad stadium, but by today's standards, with all the bells and whistles these stadiums have, and hey, that's the fascinating part, bringing 2 teams in. And I guess the Chargers and Raiders are willing to be partners in a sense, working together on this in this situation.
That's what has been said, that they're 50-50 partners. I think if you actually had the legal documents, many people would be surprised if it's 50-50 dollar-wise. And Stan Kroenke, who owns the St. Louis Rams, has moved full speed ahead on trying to build a new stadium in Inglewood, which is open to 2 teams. Any stadium built these days has to have multi-functionality. But to your point, first and foremost, San Diego knows that it needs to build a new stadium and is working to that point. Oakland knows that it needs to do something, because the days of a baseball team and a football team sharing a stadium, well, there's only one of them in North America, and that happens to be on the 66th Avenue exit. And St. Louis is well down the path of the financing of trying to build a new football stadium in St. Louis to either keep the Rams or to have somebody else relocate. So, as I said, this is a Rubik's Cube in which what might seem apparent in a one-dimensional sense becomes that much more complicated when you push the button and spin team ownerships, mayors, billionaires, teams, venues, existing cities, lawsuits, and that really has sort of led to a real conundrum as to who's going, when are they going,
Hey, Andy.
how are they going?
Andy, stay with us a minute. We have to cut to a quick commercial break here. We are talking history of the NBA. Who was the first player to record back-to-back 50-point games in the 2000s. In the year 2000s. Okay. The first email with the correct answer is going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. Don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
I'm going to guess Kobe Bryant. Would you say Kobe Bryant, Andy? I'm going to guess Kobe Bryant.
Well, I'm fixated on my former team that is now 0-11, the Philadelphia 76ers, and when it comes to getting off to great starts, I worked for the team in 72, 73.
That's right.
When they had the worst record in the history of the NBA, which will never be broken.
That's
9
right.
and 73.
Yeah.
So the question is, can the Warriors run the table, and can the Sixers run the table this year?
How about the Warriors now? 95-20 in their last 115 games.
Yeah, how many fans thought that was going to happen when they were booing the living crap out of Joe Lacob in the Chris Mullen ceremony?
That was amazing.
That game last night.
No, that was a fun game.
Curry, no, he's not a good college player. We go to Davidson. Steph Curry in the pros. Oh, he's got weak ankles. I know. Oh, he's only the best player in the NBA.
Yeah, that's a bit. We've got to talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Holy cow.
But let's continue with the football thing, and then we'll get into it.
All right, here we go.
Topic.
Well, welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question about the NBA history. Who was the first player to record back-to-back 50-point games in the 2000s?
Well, I'm going to say Kobe Bryant, but Andy, you have any idea?
I would go with MJ, Michael Jordan.
Okay.
No. Okay, now here's a hint. He played for the Warriors.
Played for the Warriors
Yeah.
at one time. Just
And I think he did it when he was with the Warriors.
Antoine Jameson.
Yes,
Antoine Jameson. That's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one. I never would have guessed Antoine. I mean, he had some good games, but
Yeah.
bad teams too. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Andy, you were actually part of the
It
Warriors.
was not Ronnie Cycling.
Not Ronnie Cycling.
I'm sure.
Yeah, when did you work with the Warriors, Andy, by the way? You worked with them for a short time.
The 94-95 season, actually, when we got off to a pretty good start, I think we got off 7-1, but that was the year of the battle between Chris Webber and one Don Nelson, if you remember.
And I remember Chris Cohan just kind of had no clue as to what was going on.
I would say after 15 years with the A's, my 9 months, which is how long it takes to, have a baby, that was my time with the Warriors. And I remember a conversation with Chris, which side should I align with? And I said, I wouldn't align with either side. Chris Webber's a great talent. He's a strong personality. Everybody knows that Nelly is one of the most in-charge coaches and successful coaches in NBA history. Just put him in a hotel room and say, nobody's going anywhere, just solve it. And Chris decided he was backing Nelson. Webber was traded, and that sort of began a downslide that lasted for 16 years, other than the one we believe season.
And I know you don't like to take shots at former employers, but at the same time, I covered that team closely and got to know Chris Cohan slightly, and he was a nice guy, but I just thought I always had the feeling right from the get-go. Larry Baer, who is the CEO of the Giants, told me this in confidence many, many years ago when Chris owned part of the Giants, a very small part, and bought the Warriors. He said, oh boy, the Warriors, Bruce, are in deep trouble. And when Larry Baer, who's a pretty sharp guy, said that to me, that shut off some alarm bells. Would you concur that I can't think of a worse owner in the history of Bay Area sports? I mean, they did nothing under his leadership except for lose.
Well,
except that one year.
Fans would jump in line to name their worst owners of all time. I won't do that. However, I will say, for all the slings and arrows that Chris Cohan has taken, and there are many, he bought that team from Dan Zanan and Jim Fitzgerald, both highly respected gentlemen with NBA experience, for about $140 million, and sold it to Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, and their partners for about $450 million.
Ooh.
So until the three of us can say that we bought something for $145 million and sold it for $450, I will keep my comments reserved.
if I bought some for $150 and turned it into $450, does that count? It's the same rate of return.
That does count. I would just say that Chris made a number of mistakes in his ownership of the Warriors. A lot of it had to do with wanting to move to different places, wanting to move to San Francisco. That didn't work. Then you remember he was going to go to downtown Oakland. Then there was the year that they played in HP at that time while they were doing the retrofit of what is now the Oracle. But
and HP for those aren't listening to San Jose.
Great ownership, quality management, and a viable product.
Yeah.
Seems simple, but if you analyze the 122 teams in the Big Four sports leagues, how many of them have those three?
Yeah, good point. Hey, Eddie DeBartolo, fascinating character, out of the ownership business for a while, but there's been some talk, relating back to what we were discussing earlier about these possible relocations in the NFL to Los Angeles. Eddie DeBartolo, it's been rumored, is been getting the ear of Mark Davis. There's been some talk he might be advising Mark Davis, might be wanting to buy into the Raiders. Some people are saying he's got a plan to keep the Raiders in Oakland. Others are saying, no, Eddie's more interested in the LA market. I mean, what have you heard, if anything, about Eddie DeBartolo? And what can you tell us about your experiences just dealing with him from afar? Because he's a fascinating character.
I only had direct dealings with Eddie DeBartolo when the new stadium was being talked about back in '99 and 2000 at Candlestick Point. And of course, that's when Eddie ran afoul based upon what happened in Louisiana and had to sell his ownership to his sister, Denise. I don't take very seriously, and Eddie has been very, very direct. He has zero interest, and any discussion about the Raiders isn't going to happen. I don't think Carol Davis or Mark Davis have any interest in selling controlling interest until they see where this whole journey, which I like to call Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of ends up. And Eddie has said, and you have to take him for his word, that he has no interest in getting involved directly in an ownership. Now, let's not forget that the first few years under Joe Thomas and Ed DeBartolo were not exactly 5 Super Bowls, correct?
That's true.
And then a guy named Bill Walsh happened to walk off the campus of Stanford University and became a miracle worker. And ironically, fast forward, a guy named Jim Harbaugh walked off the campus of Stanford University, where he had already turned around a program that people thought was impossible, and then miraculously did the same thing at the Niners. And then Jed and Jim and others clearly had a difference of opinion, and that whole scenario is not working out very well for the Niners these days.
Interesting sidelight to all this, though, and again, I'm just basing this on what I'm hearing, and there's not been substantiated, just a lot of talk, a lot of chatter. But Eddie DeBartolo, I think you know this, Andy, and I don't know if our listeners know this, was actually Al Davis helped the NFL find Eddie DeBartolo to buy the 49ers back in 1977, I believe it was. And so Eddie had Al Davis had a fairly close relationship with him, which led me to believe that there was some credence to this story about the relationship perhaps between...
Yeah, but that evolved over years, and if you listen to Carmen Policy, who's directly involved with the NFL on the Carson project, Carmen, who is well respected, has been asked that question many times, whether he would come back, whether Eddie D would come back, and he's been pretty direct, and of course he is, in contact with Eddie D. I don't think that's going to happen.
Eddie's just not interested in it.
Sometimes in life we have to just enjoy what we've had and the magnificence of, Joe Montana and Ronnie and Jerry and all the great players, and not immediately push a button. Let's have that happen again.
And what is Eddie up to then? I mean, is he going to just go to real estate?
No, he's got a sports management company. He's involved in a lot of different businesses. And again, I'm not in, contact with Ed DeBartolo. He looks like he's going into the Hall of Fame, and he's he's had an incredible life. He has a very strong group of people who've been highly supportive because of the miraculous success that the Niners had. And sometimes it's not always easy to go back and take something that isn't doing well and hope to make it better when you've done nothing but win for such a long period of time.
Hey, before I guess we have another segment coming up,
Yeah.
Edward. One thing I wanted to get into was your reflection on what's going on with the basketball here in the Bay Area. But I got to ask you briefly about your time with the A's, because a lot of our listeners remember those great A's teams from the late '80s with Eckersley and Ricky Henderson and Canseco, McGuire, and Dave Stewart and Bob Welch. And you were involved with the ownership. You were part of the front office and closely involved with the Haas family and Tony La Russa. That must have been a magical time, because it was happening at the same time that the Niners were going through their great moments across the Bay.
There's so many people that are talking about the golden age of sport in the Bay Area now, and not just because of the Warriors winning the championship last year, but the Giants winning 3 World Series in 5 years, and the Raiders starting to regain some of their edge, the college success here and what Stanford's done, the excitement that there was, and the Niners going to the Super Bowl and saying this is the golden age. But there are unique times, and that time in the Bay Area, it wasn't as sophisticated as it is now. Everybody didn't have a portable device, but there was the catch, there was Dave Stewart, there was 3 World Series in 3 years, there was an earthquake in the middle of one of them. Great players on both sides with the Niners, and that will always be indelible because of the quality of ownership, the quality of people that worked in the front office, and more so than anything, the quality of the players that basically won.
Yeah.
Okay, stay with us.
Yep.
We're going to go to one more break here. And here's our trivia question. History of the NBA. Excuse me. Who were the first 2 undrafted rookies in NBA history to make the all-rookie first or second team?
That's a good question. Yeah.
The first email with the correct answer is going to win that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email edward@sportsecon101.com the answer to this question. Who were the first 2 undrafted rookies in NBA history to make the all-rookie first or second team? Okay, undrafted rookies. All right. And Andy, you're going to stay with us one more segment?
I will, but
Excellent.
not if I have to answer that.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. We'll give it your best shot.
I'll give it a good try, Andy.
Okay.
Give it a good
In fact, I'll
college
even
try.
give you a hint. It happened in the year 2003-2004 season. Stay
Okay.
with us. Sports Econ 101. I'll be right back.
That'd be one of those foreign. It's got to be a foreign player then. Maybe.
Um,
No, not necessarily. Yeah.
I don't think they're foreign players.
Kid out of high school, maybe.
I can't say that I.
I was
know
going
the
to
answer
originally
to
say
that.
Moses. I was originally going to say Moses Malone, because Moses
But
Malone, I
that's-
think, was right out of high school. I think.
John
Wasn't Moses
Campbell.
Malone right out of high school, Andy?
Petersburg High School in Virginia.
And he started with the Sixers, didn't he?
Yeah, but I don't, the whole concept of undrafted because you came directly out of high school. I would say that the 2 players definitely came out of high school and were not international
Yeah.
players,
All right.
because I think you absolutely have to be drafted as an international.
Yeah, you
Right.
did. Yeah, I think you did too.
So, but it could also be college players that nobody thought much of. Because remember that guy Steph Curry? He wasn't very good. He was drafted, but how many GMs would talk to their owner and say, "Excuse me, you did what?"
Yeah. And then some of these guys
How about the Minnesota?
drift high and then
Yeah.
they just do nothing.
How about Minnesota? They drafted 2 guards ahead of Steph Curry. Ricky Rubio was one, and the other guy, I can't remember his name. He's no longer with the team.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hit
Yeah.
and miss. Of course, the thing with Steph Curry is his dad played, so that theoretically.
A guy named Sam Bowie and Michael Jordan. Remember that one?
Oh yeah.
Remember?
Oh yeah.
Never heard of him. Okay, all right, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. Our second trivia question had our co-hosts and our guests stumped a little bit.
Yeah.
Who were the first 2 undrafted rookies in NBA history to make the all-rookie first or second team? And I gave you the hint of the year 2003, 2004.
Okay, another hint is necessary here. Are they still, either one of them or both, still playing?
You know, one of them I'm 99.9% sure
Right.
is. The other one, I
Don't know.
can't remember.
I don't know. Andy, do you have any idea?
I will leave it directly to Bruce McGowan.
Okay.
Nothing more about sports.
I wish I could answer
Okay.
that. I
So
just,
without sounding like a complete moron.
That's okay. It's a hard question. Udonis Haslem
oh yeah.
and Marquise Daniels.
Wow.
Is Marquise Daniels
I don't think so.
Okay, because Haslem's still playing.
Haslam is still playing,
Yeah.
but he's not really very effective. Yeah.
He was a couple years
A
ago.
couple years ago, he's had some injury problems. Hey, we
There's
got.
actually one person in Yuba City that might know the answer.
Yeah, the second one I never would have guessed. We got Andy Dolich with us, who has been working in the front offices of sports franchises in baseball, football, and basketball, primarily here in the Bay Area, but he worked with Memphis, he worked with the 76ers. Can I ask you, Andy, about the NBA? Much different game these days than it was, say, 7, 8, 9 years ago, where it was more the primary way to be successful if you were one of the powerful teams was to hand the ball to Kobe or hand the ball to Michael, clear out, and let him go one-on-one. Now the Warriors and the Spurs of late are showing that it's a team-oriented game, and I think it's winning a lot of old school fans like myself back to the game. What's your outlook on this?
I agree with you in that having been involved with the league and think that it is just a spectacular game and has been. I mean, the game was played above the rim by Wilt and Kareem and Bill Russell in his unique fashion. Then you had the princes of midair and Michael Jordan and the uniqueness of Larry Bird and other, incredible players, Elgin Taylor, Oscar Robertson. But right now, I think the game is being reinvented outside the three-point line by Steph Curry, and to a second level to Klay Thompson. Have there been two better shooters on one team that are silent assassins? I mean, that are quiet until you look up and there's 32 points and 9 assists and 3 steals, and every game has a play. Having worked for the Grizzlies, it seems Steph loves to save his. Watch this one from three-quarter court.
Yeah.
Well, think about it.
Upside down, falling backwards off the glass.
They-
And I'm fouled, and they're not calling it.
Yeah.
But
it's just
the way that Steph is reinventing the game, to me, I haven't seen that outside the line, unlimited range.
Yeah.
One of the things I was thinking about is from a points standpoint, is if they only hit even 30% of their threes, that's probably still better than shooting twos and getting the percentages that they usually get because of that extra point.
The great players, and when you think about how many tens of millions of basketball players there are around the world, and it's now become an international game, for a player, whether it's LeBron or MJ or Walt Frazier, if you go in the Wayback Machine, and all these unique players, David Thompson, but to be the best in the best league in the world, how much better you have to be than everybody else, and how hard those people work, how hard LeBron James worked to better himself when he came in, or MJ, or Curry gets better every year. That's kind of hard to comprehend, or even Klay at his level, how much better he's become.
Well, how old is Curry now?
Curry's 27.
Yeah, so he's still fairly young.
He could develop to even a better player than he is, theoretically. I mean, I don't know much.
Sure.
The ceiling seems to be,
You got to hit 80%.
doesn't seem to be.
Well, you got to hit 80% of those shots
Yeah.
instead of 55%.
Well, I believe he's an android from the planet Riley.
Yeah.
He really is unique, though, Andy. And I think a lot of great ones are this way. They get into the game, and a certain calmness sort of surround. They're like the eye in the middle of the storm. I would notice I was at a game recently against Toronto, and they were in a tight game, and you knew the ball was going to go to Curry. Not that Curry got all the key shots, but he ended up as the high point man, of course. And when he gets the ball, the crowd it's almost to the point where they're expecting it to happen.
Yeah.
And it's
You
really
do that in the NBA where that's the guy. Do not let that guy get open. Do not let that guy take a three. And then Steph is backpedaling after he's released the shot in a nanosecond. Know that it's going to go in. Chewing on his mouth guard and going, well, I guess we want another one.
Yeah. And he seems so calm and matter of fact. That's what I love about him. He's an average sized guy. They say he's 6'3". He's more like 6'1". They say he weighs 190. I bet you he barely gets over 180, 75.
You've covered so many great athletes. I've been lucky enough Stadium, and it sounds so horrifically trite, but they, the great ones, slow the game down. Everybody else is running around, banging into each other. You know, whether it's Joe Montana, whether it's in Madison Bumgarner, whether it's Posey, whether it's Steph, whoever it might be, everybody looks like they're going in 14 different directions, and those guys seem to be on 33 and a third, but at the end of the game, they're winning.
Well, you know, I was watching that Toronto game, and it reminded me in watching the offense around the three-point line, like the Harlem Globetrotters. Remember how they just constantly one guy passes
the weave. They get in that weave.
That's
Yeah,
what they call it.
the Warriors like to do that a lot. Well, you know, and I think, Andy, it's great for the game because it's not only. I mean, the Warriors have a great fan support here. Even during the bad times, they were very loyal. But I think people around the country. I was talking to some national writers at this game recently in the press box, and they were saying, you know, the perception of the Warriors, they are legitimate now. Whereas last year there was always a little skepticism. Well, they didn't have to play San Antonio or the Clippers, and they didn't have any injuries. Now they've won. You know, they went on this great winning streak. Everybody's saying, "Wow, you know, maybe this."
They're big time now.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to Madison Square Garden or the United Center, Miami, or everybody wants to see them. Everybody wants to see, wants to see Steph. He's a rock star, and you know, as it should be. That's what's so wonderful about sports. How many people at the start of last year said, "Oh, no doubt about it, the Warriors are going to be the NBA champs."
Yeah.
Well, you know what I'd like to do?
Steph Curry's going to be the MVP. Any questions?
You know what I'd like to do is go onto Craigslist in various cities and see the difference in the prices of the games to see the Warriors versus to see, Atlanta Hawks.
Well, don't they have? I know that the Giants sort of pioneered this whole concept of sliding prices. You know, depending on who was coming in. Don't NBA teams do that too, Andy?
Variable pricing. Yeah. They actually worked on that with Tickets.com back in '99 and 2000 with the Giants. But I think this wouldn't be a trivia question. I mean, between the Philadelphia 76ers and the Golden State Warriors, which team would have the higher variable price next week on an away game?
Well, just even looking on Craigslist, let's say in San Francisco, where the Warriors are playing, let's say if they're going to play Cleveland or the Clippers compared to, playing, even playing the Heat is still pretty good because, you got the Boston. You got a couple of good players on that.
Oh, yeah. Well, people are spending, I've talked to people who said they know of other individuals who spend $500 routinely just to sit in the.
I have a friend who is not a sports fan, and he said, "Hey," just a few weeks ago, he said, "Andy, can you do me a favor?" And I said, "Sure, what can I do for you?" He goes, I haven't been to a Warrior game. Can you get me 2 tickets? And I said, "Yeah, I could probably do it through connections. When do you want to go?" And of course, it was 2 seats for the Cavs coming in on, Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, yeah, piece of cake, no problem."
Center court, right on the floor.
Yeah.
So did you get them the tickets?
I can't divulge that. When I told him what the tickets would cost, and this is somebody that actually has a decent job, he went, "That was a mistake what you just told me." No, that was not a mistake, and that was not the secondary market.
Oh, I know, it's ridiculous. Some of these tickets
Let's just say he'll have a great time, and I don't know what the Warriors by that time will have won 27 in a row or whatever.
It just amazes me, though, when a team gets hot and does this, it's so much fun to be around because it rejuvenates. As I pointed this out the other day with a friend of mine, as you get older and you've been covering sports as I have for many years, you get a little jaded, but then you get around a team like the Warriors who are just made up of nice guys that are just trying to win for the betterment of the team, and it just refreshes you as a fan, as a person in the media. It's great for the industry. It's great for everybody.
I, like many other people, look forward to Steve Kerr coming back and coaching the team, but you don't hear anything about Steve right now, right?
Yeah.
You're really not, you're hearing about Luke, but it's the team. It's the way they're playing. It's the level of the fact that the fans love the players love the fans, and you were talking about streaks. I was thinking way, way back to 1981 when Billy Ball, not Moneyball, but Billy Ball was created after Billy Martin, and remember, we won 17 out of our first 8.
I remember that, yeah.
I wonder how much coaching is Luke actually doing right now versus the players just playing.
I'm
Oh,
guessing,
I think he's doing a lot of coaching.
Okay.
I don't think anybody on that staff is anything short of working their butts off because none of them, and they've got a great staff, none of them would want to do anything to embarrass Coach Kerr, the organization. I think everybody, and I think to me, this is another underscoring of what a great coach he is and what a solid organization they have. Because nobody wants to let anybody else down, and that's the perfect example of what a quality organization is about.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to slight Luke because I'm sure.
Well, I think the thing is when you're winning by 17 points average a game, which they were for a good part of this winning streak, you don't have to really, be on your A game as a coach. It just helps to manage things. And one thing I talked to a writer yesterday. He said, Luke was talking to Steph Curry during a timeout. He was down on the floor. This writer was, and he said he heard Luke go over and sort of gently remind Curry, you had an open man. You didn't need to take that shot. And Curry said, to his credit, listened, nodded his head, and said, yeah, good point. And so I think they've got that receptive quality the players do that even with a guy like Walton, I think part of it has to do with the fact that he played, but also he just seems almost like a Kerr clone, former player who's pretty much in tune with these guys.
Probably asks his dad once in a while for help.
Yeah.
When are they going to trade Bogut?
I hope they don't.
Oh, he's driving me crazy.
No, I think that no. He's been playing very well. Here's the thing with Bogut. I think with Bogut, he's going to be more valuable now that Festus Ezeli has developed into a frontline center, and they'll be able to split it. It'll be a kind of a two-headed center, and it's going to work out for the best. Andy, have you been paying much attention to the way Festus Ezeli, who's not a big name on the team, is coming along very well?
The way I watch the games, I'm a big hoops fan. You cannot have too many good players on your team to the point that the stories of the last few days is, when Kevin Durant is free to go, it won't be free. He wants to go to the Golden State Warriors. Like, hello, what? Great players want to play with other great players. I'm not saying that's ever going to happen. You can't have too many good ones. And if you look at the job and the way that Andre Iguodala and Bogut took sitting on the bench, no griping. David Lee last year, to me, was an MVP in his own right. When winning teams are playing at the level that they are now, and we've been lucky enough to see it a lot in the Bay Area over the last few decades and very many teams, it's a symphony, it's an opera, it's a ballet, and when teams aren't, it's a Tower of Babel, it's finger pointing, and it's a mess of titanic proportions.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for joining us. Because you say that Andrew, no, I'm not going to say it. Okay.
Always a pleasure getting a chance to
having
get.
you on, Andy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, Andy. Thanks so
All right,
much.
take care.
In my regards to Marquise Daniels, I'll never forget.
Okay.
Marquise Daniels. Now that's one I never would have
No,
gotten.
I wouldn't have gotten that one. Okay. here we
Andy's a
go.
good guy. And Andy's a fascinating guy too. I mean, he really should host a talk show of his own.
We'll hold that thought. Okay,
Yeah.
third trivia question. Who was the first coach in NBA history to lead a team to an under 500 record and win Coach of the Year in the same season? Stay with
Good
us.
question.
You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be back with some closing comments.
Had to be a team that was really sucked, and then came back and had mediocre year. So I'm trying to think who that would be.
It's like I watch the game, I study it, and I like Iguodala.
Iguodala is terrific.
He's really
You know who's
good.
really good on that team is Sean Livingston.
Yes,
With
he
his
was
long
hurt.
arms,
Yes,
and
he
Barbosa
was
gives
hurt.
him a little
Barbosa
trouble.
just gives him.
I think if they can, I noticed last night Bogut started again. I think the great thing about Ezeli is that Bogut is a lot fresher now because he's only playing 19 minutes.
Well, and he's
20 minutes.
lost some weight.
Lost some weight, but he's his shot blocks are up. His shooting is better. He's more relaxed. Of course, he hasn't played much. But I mean, if he and Ezeli can split time, they can keep Bogut healthy, use him in spots, and Ezeli is developing into an intimidating, tough presence.
Ezeli, yeah.
And
Ezeli
Ezeli is only 23 years old. And Harrison Barnes is 23. Steph Curry is 27. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green are 24. The core of this team is like 25 years old.
How old's Bogut? He's not that
But Bogut is 30.
30.
Yeah, he's probably maybe a year or two away.
Yeah, I don't know. I get.
Well, he's hurt all the time. But if he doesn't play all the time, then he doesn't get hurt. So this could be a word.
It's not so much getting hurt. It's just I watch him play, and just the mistakes I see. I mean, I saw. Okay.
Well, he
7 turnovers
hasn't had
by
a chance
Curry,
to play
I see
much of that.
Yeah.
Last night they let Toronto in the game because they did turn the ball over. That was their one.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Yeah,
their
that
one
was-
failing last night. But they're like this great band that fucks up a little here and there, but generally speaking, they're so
They
good.
do.
How can you quibble?
All right, let's do
Yeah.
some closing comments.
All right, then we'll get Will Durst.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 15 minutes. That's good. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, for some closing comments, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our third and final trivia question about history of basketball, history, NBA. Who was the first coach in NBA history to lead a team to an under 500 record and still win Coach of the Year in the same season?
As I said before, it had to be somebody who took over a team that was just wretched, god awful, maybe won half a dozen
Yeah,
games or something.
you got to be right because if they won the year
Yeah.
before and then they were under 500.
No, I'm guessing it was somebody who took over somebody like the awful 76ers or, but I'm at a loss.
This is a tough. I had to ask you one
Yeah,
really
yeah.
tough one. Johnny Kerr, and it was the expansion Chicago Bulls. So it
Oh,
was when the Bulls came.
so their second year.
Yeah.
Second year. Okay, yeah.
I don't know what year that was.
Mid 60s. Mid 60s.
Mid 60s.
Mid 60s. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of tough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good one
so
though. Good one. I
here's
never would
our-
have guessed it.
here's our thoughts for the day. Go for the thoughts for the day here. Abe Lemons.
Oh yeah, he was a great basketball coach at Oklahoma State.
And that's why
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
City.
City. Okay.
Yeah, university.
Says, I don't have any tricky plays. I'd rather have tricky players.
That's
And
true.
a wise man once said, fault finding is like window washing. All the dirt seems to be on the other side.
Ah, good one. I like that.
that? So next week, who's our guest?
We've got Will Durst,
All right.
a comedian who was a huge sports fan and has some fun stories to tell us.
He was very good last time.
Yeah.
We'll have some more fun with him.
No
next week.
question.
Tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. Why? Because we're going to be giving away more we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. Also giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
When I was sitting next to Vern at the Raiders game on Sunday. He's so funny. He's got his computer here. He's got a smartphone here. He's like doing this. He's looking up.
Doing all of
Oh, he's doing